I never thought I'd be sharing my story online, but here I am trying to make sense of how my entire world fell apart in just 1 week. I'm 25, and until recently, I was engaged to someone I thought was the love of my life. We've been together since high school, dated through college, and we're supposed to get married next month. Let me start from the beginning. My fiance and I had been planning a fall wedding. Everything was set: the venue, the flowers, the guest list. My childhood friend, Jenny, was going to be my maid of honor. We'd grown up together, shared every secret, and been there for each other through everything. Or so I thought. Last week, while my fiancé was in the shower, his phone kept ringing. He asked me to check it, and I saw Jenny's name pop up repeatedly. When I texted her from my phone asking what she needed, she mentioned something about changing the wedding flowers. This was strange because all the arrangements had been finalized weeks ago, and my stepfather Mark had already paid for everything. When my fiancé got out of the shower, I asked him about the flower changes. He hesitated, gave a vague answer about me mentioning it at dinner sometime, and quickly changed the subject. Something felt off, but I tried to ignore it. That night, though, I couldn't sleep. After he dozed off, I checked his phone again. What I found destroyed me. There was a group chat that included Jenny, my fiancé, my mom, and my half-siblings David and Sarah. The chat was a year old, and in it, my fiancé and Jenny had admitted to having an affair. But what hurt even more was seeing my own family's responses. My mom, instead of defending me, actually asked my fiancé if he truly loved Jenny, saying you can't help who you fall in love with. My half-siblings suggested he bring up the idea of an open relationship to me, since they were both in open marriages. When he said it was too late since we were already engaged, my mom offered to help cover for them until he felt ready to talk to me about opening up our relationship. Reading through the chat, I discovered more betrayals. On our last family vacation, when I couldn't go because I was sick, Jenny had taken my place. My own mother had helped arrange it. They'd all been lying to me for an entire year. I spent the next week gathering evidence, taking screenshots, and trying to hold myself together while planning how to confront them. Our rehearsal dinner was coming up, and I decided that would be the perfect time to expose everything. The dinner was supposed to be a celebration of our families coming together. Instead, it would be the day everything fell apart. I contacted my fiancé's parents first, sending them the screenshots. His mom broke down crying, and his dad asked if there was anything their son could do to fix things. I told them there wasn't, but asked them to keep quiet until I revealed everything at the dinner. The morning of the rehearsal dinner was surreal. I had to act normal while my fiancé talked about how excited he was and how much he loved me. Jenny was there too, smiling and playing her part as the devoted best friend. My mom hugged me when I arrived, and it took everything in me not to push her away. I had scheduled mass texts with all the screenshots to be sent to everyone during the dinner, our families, friends, Jenny's family, everyone. As I sat there watching people eat and chat, I knew their phones would start buzzing any minute. When they did, chaos erupted. My aunt was the first to react, screaming at my mom. My grandparents were horrified. Jenny and my fiancé looked like they'd seen ghosts. But the worst was yet to come. Under pressure from everyone's questions, my mom finally snapped and revealed she'd always hated me because I was the product of her affair and I'd ruined her life. My cousin got me out of there quickly as everything descended into complete chaos. She took me to my aunt's house, where I've been staying ever since. But this was just the beginning of a storm that would change all our lives forever. Things got worse after I left the dinner. As I sat at my aunt's house trying to process everything, my phone wouldn't stop ringing. One of my bridesmaids called, yelling at me about how I could abandon Jenny and my fiancé when they needed me most. Then she told me Jenny had hurt herself, not seriously, but enough to get attention. My fiancé had also taken some pills, but his friends found him and took him to the hospital. He was okay, just under observation for 3 days. I felt awful hearing this, but I knew they were doing it to make me feel guilty and respond to them. I didn't. My friend group split into 2 camps. Some supported me, while others sided with Jenny and my fiancé, saying I should have talked to them before, ruining everyone's lives. I blocked most of them on my phone because I couldn't deal with their drama on top of everything else. The real shock came the next morning when my stepfather Mark called. During their fight after the dinner, my mom had confessed that my half-siblings weren't his children either. She'd been having affairs throughout their marriage. Mark told me he was filing for divorce and that my mom had finally admitted I was the result of her affair with his former best friend. I was still processing this when my mom showed up at my aunt's house. My cousin was with me, thankfully. Mom started screaming through the door about how I'd ruined her life. When we wouldn't let her in, she broke through the window. She ran upstairs and attacked me. For the first time in my life, I fought back. My cousin had to get our neighbor to help separate us. I pressed charges against my mom and decided to get a restraining order. She ran off before the police arrived, but I gave them Mark's address in case she went there. It was hard to believe this woman who'd raised me could be so violent and full of hate. Then my half-sister Sarah called. I thought maybe she was calling to apologize, but instead, she asked if I could watch her kids while she went on a trip with her husband and boyfriend. When I refused, she got angry and said I couldn't see my nieces anymore. That hurt more than I expected. I loved those kids, and now she was using them to punish me. My half-brother completely blocked me on everything. I guess he sided with Sarah. It's strange how quickly family can turn on you when the truth comes out. The only good news was that my friend Kyle, who was actually my fiance's friend, chose to support me. He helped my aunt and cousin pack up my fiance's things from our apartment. Kyle brought me my favorite fruit and offered to be there if I needed to talk. He made it clear he wouldn't stay friends with my fiancé after what happened. I'm starting therapy next week. My aunt, who's been more of a mother to me than my real mom ever was, is letting me stay with her until I figure things out. She's infertile, and she always treated me like the daughter she never had. Seeing her defend me so fiercely at the dinner showed me what real family love looks like. Jenny's dad cut her off financially after finding out what she'd done. She and my fiancé got into a huge fight at the dinner, with him blaming her for ruining everything. He said he only cheated because I was working overtime, and he felt lonely. As if that's any excuse. My mom keeps calling family members, begging them to convince Mark not to divorce her because she'll be homeless. Nobody's taking her calls. She's been telling everyone I'm evil for destroying her life again. But as my aunt says, she did this to herself. I've taken time off work, and I'm thinking about moving to a different state for a fresh start. Maybe somewhere quiet where nobody knows me or this story. My boss has been understanding and told me to take all the time I need. The hardest part is realizing that while I'm grieving the loss of my relationship, I'm also grieving the loss of the family I thought I had. All those memories of family trips, holidays, and celebrations feel fake now. How many other lies were there? How many times did they laugh behind my back? It's been a month since everything exploded at the rehearsal dinner. I wanted to update about what's happened since then, both good and bad. First, I got the restraining order against my mom. The judge was pretty shocked when I showed the pictures of my injuries from when she attacked me and the screenshots of her threats. She can't come within 500 feet of me now. Mark's divorce is moving forward too. He sold their house, and last I heard, my mom is staying with Sarah. Speaking of Sarah, she's been telling my nieces that I don't love them anymore. It breaks my heart, but my aunt suggested we keep all the screenshots and evidence for when they're older. That way, they can understand what really happened. My half-brother is still not talking to me, but honestly, I'm done trying to fix relationships with people who help hide such a huge betrayal. Jenny tried to contact me through mutual friends again. She sent a long message about how she never meant to hurt me, that she and my fiancé just couldn't help falling in love. I didn't respond. Some of our old friends told me she's struggling now that her dad cut her off financially. She had to move back home and get a real job instead of trying to become an influencer. I know it's petty, but it feels like karma. My fiancé moved back in with his parents. He keeps trying to explain himself through Kyle, who thankfully still refuses to pass on any messages. The last thing I heard was that my fiancé claimed he was confused and made a mistake. Kyle told him that betraying someone for a whole year isn't a mistake, it's a choice. I've started therapy, and it's helping more than I expected. My therapist pointed out that I've been carrying trauma from my mom's emotional abuse my whole life without realizing it. All those times she made me feel like I wasn't good enough, or when she'd give Jenny more attention than me, it was all part of her resentment. The good news is I found a job in another state. It's actually a better position than my current one, with higher pay. My aunt cried when I told her I was moving, but she understands I need a fresh start. She and my cousin are helping me plan the move. They're even driving with me to help get settled in my new place. I've learned some hard lessons through all this. The main one is that sometimes the family we choose is more important than the family we're born into. My aunt and cousin have shown me more love and support in the past month than my mom has in my entire life. Kyle, who was technically my fiance's friend first, turned out to be a better friend than Jenny, who I'd known since childhood. Looking back at the screenshots from that group chat still hurts. Seeing my family discuss my life and relationship like it was some kind of game they could play with, it makes me angry. But my therapist says anger is a normal response to betrayal, and I'm allowed to feel it as long as I don't let it consume me. I'm not dating right now, and I don't plan to for a while. Trust is something I'll need to rebuild slowly. But I'm focusing on myself, my career, my healing, my future. I've started taking evening classes in photography, something I always wanted to do but my fiancé thought was a waste of time. The apartment is all packed up now. My aunt helped me sort through everything, throwing out gifts from Jenny and my fiancé, keeping only what matters to me. My cat seems excited about the move. He's already claimed his favorite box to sit in. Yesterday, I drove past my old high school where I first started dating my fiancé. I thought it would hurt more, but instead, I felt relieved. Relieved that I found out the truth before the wedding, before we had kids, before I spent my whole life with someone who could lie to my face every day. I'm not sure what the future holds, but for the first time since this all happened, I'm actually excited to find out. My new job starts in 2 weeks, and my new apartment has a small balcony where I can have morning coffee and watch the sunrise. It's not the life I planned, but maybe it's the life I need. To anyone else going through something similar, it gets better. Not quickly, and not easily, but it does get better. The pain doesn't go away completely, but it changes. It becomes something you carry with you, something that reminds you of how strong you can be. And that's where my story stands for now. Not exactly a happy ending, but maybe it's just the beginning of a better story, one where I get to choose who stays in it. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this story, please hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to give it a thumbs up and share it with friends or family who might enjoy it too. Your support means a lot. And if you have any thoughts, questions, or story ideas, drop them in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. See you in the next story.